Good evening. This is Stedman Fry, along with my co-host Amanda Goodman-Berry and Flex McGee, with Delta Workers Unite, the Working Class Podcast, your newest resource for news, updates, and information on the State of the Union drive and how you can get involved. We'll bring you interviews and stories from workers just like you and us who want to share happenings as they see them. We'll also be debunking the falsehoods and misconceptions about the union and giving you the tools to do the same. Please remember to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you will know when we post or go live. Thank you. Not afternoon, good evening, right? Good evening, everyone. I'm joined again here with a show. We did a pre-recorded interview with an employee who was actually involved in our drive in Atlanta, Shaconda. It's her first time as a guest on the show. She's a fairly new employee, and she's really been putting in a lot of work trying to, help organize our workforce in Atlanta. So we have an interview with her. As you can see from the title, the show is Setting the Record Straight. So what we try to do in this episode is answer a few questions that she has, questions that she's been asked by other employees who are, hearing certain things about what would happen as a result of the union. People who apparently don't watch the podcast, but people who have questions about various topics concerning pay and micromanagement and things like that. And so she stopped by, she presented some of those for us, and we're going to lay some of those out for you here. I've got two comments so far. One from Ray Duck, and it says, please, I'll pull it up. Please mention to all the brothers and sisters out there that not every Delta employee received a 4% raise on June 1st, like the company proudly boasted. Yeah, I think we talk about that in the show, in the interview, but just in case we don't, because we had a kind of a long conversation before we started recording, just kind of, talking to each other. Everyone did not receive a 4% raise. I don't know the specifics, but some received like a 3.9% raise, and some received like a 3.46 or something percent raise. And so I need to, and maybe if we don't talk about it in the video, that'll be a topic we bring up for next episode. But yeah, so the numbers aren't flat 4% for everybody, and I'd like to kind of get into that and break down why. And then we've got a comment from Stan with Yvette. Evening, brothers and sisters. Evening, Yvette. Glad to have you here. You're always a welcome guest on the show. well, guest as a commenter, a participator. So we appreciate you being here and your comments throughout the show, and same with you, Gray Duck. So I'll pull the video up, and I think all of the shows are good. I think every episode has been informative, but I think this one is really a good episode. We bring in another worker with another perspective to kind of answer some questions that people have, and so I extend now my offer to every employee to come on the show and share their story and have their questions answered, or share with the group of us, what are you hearing while you try to organize and sign cards, or maybe you were more of a passive activist as far as organizing is concerned. What are you hearing, and what are you seeing, and what do you want to talk about? So you can always leave a comment or an email. The email is in the YouTube about section, so you'll find it there. But I'll pull the video up and I'll start.
Hello. Welcome to the Deltas Work Unite in the Working Class Podcast. Today, we're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to answer some questions, and we got a wonderful guest on the show today. She's new to the drive, but she's been handling her business, as I call her, my Sojourner Weaver that's coming in the house. So we're going to do a round of an introduction. We're going to start out. Yes, let's give a hand clap. Welcome. Yes. Welcome. So we're going to allow my co-hosts to introduce themselves, and then we're going to jump right in with our guests, and we're going to get it popping.
Yo, what's good? Oh, go ahead, Fry.
So Stedman Fry here in Detroit, 18 years.
Man, he was very businesslike. Flex McGee in Atlanta, 25 years. And I am proud to be here, accompanied by one of my teammates, my local teammates, man. And I'm a Shaconda. I don't want to not say your name, but I'm going to go ahead and let you introduce yourself and tell the people who you are.
Shaconda Magwood here in Atlanta with my brother Flex. I've been on the line now for 2 years.
Yes.
Yeah.
I say, check me, boo. 2 years. All right. All right. So we're going to jump right in. We had a little conversations before we started the pod. And we just want to get some questions answered as to what's going on. And today is basically just a conversation between the workers. We just feel like sometimes we're so focused on having a guest and versus just having a basic conversation like we would talk to one another if we wasn't on the podcast. So we're going to dive right in. Shaconda, you was talking earlier and you said it, that a lot of the questions that you're being asked is, one in particular, is it true that the union will be micromanaging us the way that Delta does? So I'm going to let Flex or Stedman jump in on that. And if you want to give us like a little bit more what you mean by that, you can do that, and we'll try to give you an answer to what that sounds like and looks like as of being unionized.
Hey, I'll jump in. Another great question as always. Go ahead. No, go ahead, sister. Go ahead and put some context around it. Yeah, go ahead.
Just wanted to go with the backstory, and coincidentally, I had one of my close peers come to me today who drive, who we have conversations about it all the time, and she said to me, "You know what? I have a question. I'm not too sure about the union." She had a conversation with one of her older peers who is a Delta worker, and he spoke down on the union. He told her that, I've worked with the union before, behind the scenes, it's a lot of politics and politricks, and all they're going to do is micromanage everything that you do. You're not going to have the downtime that you have on the ramp. Everything you do is going to be like they're on you, like it's always work to do, straight through 8 hours work to do, work. And I asked her, what industry was he in, he didn't tell her, or she didn't know what industry that was. And, you know, I'm like, that's not what the union does, but I'm gonna ask the question tonight. And I hope she's tuning in right now too, because we're gonna answer that for her.
All right, Flex.
No, that's a great question, to be honest with you, because if you don't know, you need to find the answers. The truth of the matter is, I don't know where he or she currently works, but they're already like cutting our downtime down, and like that, they're already, at least in Atlanta. Like in Atlanta, we just picked up like more flights than we had before COVID. That's getting ready to hit us in Atlanta like now. So downtown is always based off of what the flight schedule looks like. Everybody who knows me in the A knows that I work B South, B6 every day. I work B South ramp, and there was a time that me and my brother Ralph Hall were working 6.5, 7 turns a day. That's just what it was. The downtime was like, I remember literally going in at 1:30 after starting at 6:45, and we've been outside the whole day from 6:45 to 1:30, and say, hey man, we're going to lunch. And they said, well, you guys got a flight coming in. No, Delta has a flight coming in. Delta B6 is a Delta gate. That's it's a Atlanta Hartsfield gate. Delta has a flight coming in. Delta has to find staffing for that. Just because there's a flight coming to the gate that I'm assigned doesn't always mean it's going to be mine. And so those were staffing issues. I don't think that the union is here to benefit people. I'm not going to tell you that you're not going to have to work hard, because I'd be lying to you. That's not what I'm here to say. Me personally, I don't mind working hard. I just want to be compensated for it, the work that I do. And we've already been working hard in Atlanta. Like anytime, let me just explain this. Anytime you get record-breaking profits year after year after year, that's lost wages. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just simply said, is lost wage. Record-breaking profits year after year after year are lost wages. Somewhere, somebody in there ain't getting paid. I'm not saying we don't do an amazing job. I'm not saying Delta's not a great company to work for. But if anybody was listening to this and think that the union is here to micromanage, that's not true. There's no micromanaged position with the union. But there is accountability that comes along with being unionized. A fair day's pay for a fair day's work. And that's, I think, that's at least what I'm fighting for. I'm not saying that others aren't looking to sit down more or do things, but I just want to be compensated. I want the fact that if something happens to me while I'm at my job, I shouldn't go to 60% if I get hurt, if I'm injured, working. You know what I'm saying? I should, those are the things that I'm fighting for. So for that person who would say that, I would love to be able to talk to them, especially if you're in Atlanta. I would love for you to come to one of our meetings, or an event or anything that we would do, just so we could sit down and have a conversation, so we could, I can elaborate a little better. But the union is not here to micromanage people. That's management's job. Management micromanages. And to that person also, I don't want to discredit whatever your situation was when you were unionized before. I don't know it. Your experience was your experience. But I can tell you from my experiences in this industry, that's not what we did as union reps. So I hope that answers the question the best way I can. Like I said, if anybody would like to talk about it more, you can always, put it in the chat. We can talk about it, light the chat up if that's not your experience, and let's go deeper. We can dial deeper into that. You got it, Fry.
So you made a lot of great points, so I won't. I don't think I need to be too elaborative. But when you think about micromanaging, I could be wrong, but it's possible this person thinks that having a clearly defined set of work rules and policies that are easily accessible and adhered to strictly is micromanagement, right? When you are in a situation where rules are really suggestions until they're not, or so long as you're getting work done at an adequate level, it's okay to bend the rules or break the rules, except when the company determines that what you're doing is not beneficial or necessary or some other maybe accounting reason that you don't need to be here anymore, and they say, hey, we're going to bring this up. As Flex said, you don't get micromanaged. What you get is a clearly defined structure to do your job properly, adequately, and safely, right? And this is what we want. You know, you want to be able to say, this is right, this is wrong, this is acceptable, this is not, and find it easily when you need it. I'll speak for myself. I don't like having work policies that seem to be at times suggestions and other times, you know, the lost 10 commandments. You see what I'm saying? So micromanagement, I think maybe that could depend on how you're looking at a safe, organized work environment, right? And so with the amount of time I have at this job, you know, less than Flex and Amanda, but certainly long enough to have seen some things and heard stories, I know how dangerous it is, right? And so I want someone to represent me, an organization, a collection of workers who has my best interest in mind, because I have a family and I want to go home and see them when I leave from doing my job. And so having clearly defined, well-organized, easily accessible work rules is not micromanagement. Micromanagement is when you're working a flight that you've worked every day for 5, maybe even 2, but 10, 15, 20 plus years. And you have a manager sitting, you know, the next gate over watching you work. That's micromanagement, right? When you have someone coming up to you to ask you a question about how a flight operates when you're understaffed or the equipment is not good enough or the turn time is not long enough to ask you what happened. Or when you get hurt and the first thing you're asked is not, are you okay? But what could you have done differently to prevent this injury? That's micromanagement, right? So I'll leave it there to the next question, but I hope, as Flex said, as Amanda said, that we have answered this question sufficiently, right? We want clearly defined, organized work rules, not micromanagement, at least not from the union, not from anybody, but especially not from the union.
So Shaconda, I would just add like a brief just comment to wrap all of that up. The union does require us to be on time, do your job, come to work, follow the safety rules. The union does follow the rules. And if a person thinks that that's being micromanaged, that is a misinformed information, because we have an obligation when we walk into any job, not even just Delta. You have to do your job. You need to be on time. You need to make sure you're in compliance. So if that's considered what they're thinking micromanaging, that's not micromanaging. That is following the rules that has been set for us. And if we're following those rules and then someone is messing with us, then they're micromanaging us. So I just wanted to put that on, because the union does not endorse unsafe work environments. They do not endorse us being late coming to work. The union actually will be on you, because you're having us be fighting battles that we don't need to fight if you just follow the rules. That's not micromanaging. That is just making sure we're in compliance.
Absolutely. And that was a question. I may have asked her went too deep of the questions to her because it wasn't her actual situation. I said, but you never know. I said, he probably was terminated from his job. That's probably why he speaks bad about the union and we micromanage. That was probably someone who did not follow the rules. I said, because I don't know the union to be micromanagers at all. But she could answer that. Yeah, that'd be good to know.
Thank you. Okay, so we're going to move on to another question that a lot of these questions, let me just let the viewers know, a lot of these questions is systematic and system-wide, but these are the questions that are coming to her in the ATL. And I just feel like it's important to address these questions because it is ATL Pacific. So we just want to make sure that you are getting a clear understanding that it is not just your station. It's the ATL too. We all have questions. So we just want to make sure that Shaconda can go back to her coworkers in the ATL along with Flex and be able to have some answers to give, you know. So another question that Shaconda said has been high on the list is how much would our monthly union dues be, providing we should vote the union in? Flex R. Stedman, I think, Flex, we'll start with you to take that question.
Hey, absolutely. That's another great question. It's a question that I run into like pretty much daily. And I'm gonna try to explain how union dues work as simple as possible and as best that I can. Uh, the reason why nobody can tell you an exact number on your union dues is because that's all kind of based on your contract. And because we don't have a contract, I can't necessarily say exactly what your union dues will be. Union dues are based off of what your it's the average pay. It's kind of like 1.5 or 2 times the average pay in your local. Now, let me go into depth with that. So when I was union president in our local, we had Northwest, American, US Air, United. I feel like I'm forgetting somebody, but we had multiple airlines in it. And it was an older local at the time, you know? So most of the people in our local were topped out. So, which at the time, to be honest with you, we were making $20 an hour. 2020 was our top out pay when I was union president. So it was like 2 times that. You know what I'm saying? Or actually, let me make sure. It was like 2.5. Well, at the beginning, it was like $35 for a month, but we had a special dispensation. So that's why it was only $35 per month. I remember when I started in Buffalo, it was like $37 a month. But like I said, at the time, people were only making $20 an hour. After reconstruction of everything, our dues locally in Atlanta when I was president went to $51 a month. And people always say, what you'll see Delta put out paperwork talk about the union dues and this local just went up to this, that, there, and the third. The more people make in your local as a collective, not just your airline, but as a collective, the average in that collective, the more the union dues are. So currently in Atlanta, most of our people aren't topped out. You know what I'm saying? And if Atlanta was its own local, our dues would probably be in the 50s. To be honest with you, it's gonna be like 2 times your pay. If we were adding into maybe Southwest or something like that, it's probably still because it's so many of us. It's probably still gonna be, in the 50s. For this is just a one-time thing in a month. It's not. It don't come out every check. Cause I know that's a question I always get. I can't afford to pay $50 every time I get paid. We're not pilots. Nobody's charging you $100 a month for union dues. But that's how union dues work. Union dues are strictly based off of local. That's why it's different in every local. That's why they'll show you that it's $70 a month in some local in Seattle that might have all our old fossils like myself, you know what I'm saying, who are all topped out. But they won't show you what it's like in a place like Atlanta where everybody might all of us don't make that much, or it's a bunch of new hires. So that's really why how union dues work is based on your contract, but in general. So that's why we can't give you a specific number. Your contract determines what your dues are, but that's why we can't give you a specific number. But it's pretty much going to be like between 1.5 to 2.5 times what your pay. The average in your local is a month. Now, when I hired in, I was making $9 an hour, but I was paying $30-something. And you're like, wait a minute, that's way more. But it's because I hired in Buffalo, which had old US Air. Everybody in the junior man in US Air, when I got to Buffalo, had 22 years. And that was a mini hub for them. You know what I'm saying? So you understand. But that's how union dues work. When I came to Atlanta, they had dispensation at a point to where it was only $35, which was a little cheaper, but it still was $35. But as we went on, and I had topped out I forgot what they were when I was in Minneapolis. I want to say in Minneapolis they might have been like $40-something an hour when I got up there. I hadn't topped out yet. When I got there, and mind you, I'm talking 20 years ago. But that's how union dues are structured. They're going to be structured. I can't. The reason why we can't tell you exact amount is because we don't have a contract. We had a contract. I can tell you exactly what our dues would be. But that's how union dues work. And union dues, as you all know, they go to fund everything that you have to like. Part of it goes to the international, just like taxes. Part of it goes to international. Part of it goes to your district, which would be like state, and part of it goes local to your local to run your local. Like it runs all of the financial aspects of everything that we have to do in order to represent people. I hope that answered the question, but I'll take any questions on it if any of you guys have any questions.
No, that was good. That was good. Flex, let's give Flex a hand clap on. That was very well explained. That was very well explained. And the only thing I would add to that is what I said earlier, Shaconda. I would rather pay $100 a month in union dues than to be terminated from Delta and need an attorney and didn't have a union rep on the property that who could fight for me. And like David Pink was talking about, arbitrary and all of those different things, that the steps that it takes to go through a union in order to be terminated. So having a union is more than just union dues. The union step in and lift the weight off your shoulder. The union steps in and make sure you are being taken care of. So if you ask me if I had to choose today, tomorrow, any day, I'll pay those union dues just to know that I have representation on the property at any time and at all times. So I hope that further answers your question.
Yeah, that's definitely what it looks like, what it feels like to be a protected Delta worker or a protected worker in the U.S. So, that's definitely what we want, to be protected and to feel, empowered to have someone speak up for us and on our behalf, because we don't have that. We don't have that. To find it within on the inside is really hard to come by, if you come by it at all.
Okay. Stedman, did you have anything you want to say before we move forward?
Well, yeah, I wanted to kind of hit on some of the points we talked about pre-show. When you remember off-schedule lunches, or Flex. Now, me and Amanda couldn't. I thought off-schedule lunches were half an hour and no lunch was an hour. Amanda was saying it was different. Do you remember? Because I don't remember.
So no. So if you don't get lunch between your third and your fifth hour, they paid you 0.5 at straight time. If you didn't get lunch the whole day, they paid you 0.5 of overtime. So that's how off-schedule lunches and no lunches work. And those are things that were protected by our contract. It was a situation, and I don't know if you guys remember, but we got off-schedule lunches every day.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember, because the way off-schedule lunches worked was there had to be nothing going on for you to do for 30 minutes. Not, how now they say, hey, go take a lunch, but you got a plane in the gate. If I'm assigned to that flight, because anything can happen with that flight. So we got an extra 5 hours pay a week.
Yeah.
Because your lunch was pretty much almost, I don't want to overhype this, but almost every day, between your third and fifth hour at any airport, and I worked 5 different airports, you're going to get an off-schedule lunch because you're going to be assigned to something. You just might be taking lunch during that time, but if something happens, you might have to get up and move. Delta expects that from you now, but they don't pay you for it. You know what I'm saying? Like, listen, I promise you, it had got so bad when I worked B South ramp. It had got so bad at one point to where, because I understood that you're not compensating me for lunches. I had an ALA that was a little afraid to say something to management. I literally would get on the radio and tell them that B6 is going to lunch. Y'all need to figure out what y'all gonna do with this inbound. Or, hey, we're gonna dump this point. I literally had to do this for myself because people around me didn't have the courage to do it, the confidence to do it. And I don't do that for praise. I'm just saying, if you're not gonna pay me these 30 minutes, I'm sitting down. That's just the bottom line.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah.
we have to all have that same type of courage, but you have to, but like we kind of were saying before, man, I come to work on time every day. That came from what accountability. That came from my parents. That came from just being in this industry and understanding what it was. No OSM can come up to me and tell me, well, you know, I did such and such for, or GM or manager. I did such and such for you. Can you just do this for me? No, you can't tell me that because I'm doing my job every day, what I'm supposed to do. So, like, back to your first question, do you feel like that's micromanaging? I just feel like that's accountability. Because now when I go out there and tell them, hey, this tow bar doesn't work and I'm not using it, they know I'm not using it. I don't go through the back and forth, oh man, I feel some kind of way because my OSM asked me. I don't go through that. Because I just want to do what I'm supposed to do, and I want you to do what you're supposed to do. And everybody's gonna be good. You know what I'm saying? So that's
And
all.
just to and I like that. And just to piggyback off of that, also, if you added up the 0.6, if you did 6 minutes over your shift, you got paid for the whole entire hour. And if you imagine doing 0.6 every day for a pay period, that's literally 10 hours of overtime that you got paid just for 6 minutes. So for those with the negative about the union negotiated so many things that benefited the workers that it was crazy. So I don't understand where that would come from because, like I said before, and to talk about what he was saying, the union will not be perfect. Let's get that straight. It will not be perfect, and nothing we do will be perfect. But one thing we will have is a contract to make Delta understand that this is what we want, this is what we're standing for, and what we're standing on. So getting a contract it would be everything for us because we can have some normalcy back at the job again. And like David was talking about how happy he was to come to work, we can find some joy in coming back to work again. So I just wanted to add that onto that to show that there are so many more perks to the union than the people who don't know talk about. So if Stephen had anything else, we'll move on to the next question.
Well, I just want to again kind of reiterate because you and Flex hit on so many good points, but there are so many incidental costs that we pay as a result of no contract. As Flex was saying, you know, you don't get a lunch today because of scheduling issues that you have no control or say over. And you know, like Amanda was saying with the short hour, like I talked about, you know, where we are scheduled to work 8.5 hours, but you get paid 8. Whereas, you know, when we were under our union contract, the specifics I'll let Flex or Amanda speak on, but it shows that your time is being valued by workers. A union is a body of workers, and so we value our time. So, you know, those incidental costs are things that we need to consider. You know, the cost of benefits increasing, the amount that your uniform is covered, your boots. How many times have you watchers had to put extra money with an adequate pair of boots so that you could have boots that last you for the year that you have boots until the next? When before we got our uniform points, you could spend it all on boots. You could spend it all on whatever you wanted as long as you were under your allotment. You never put money with your uniform. That was unheard of unless you were just purchasing more uniforms for yourself. That was unheard of. Your boots, if you wanted the most expensive boots that they made, so long as it was within a $400, you could have them, right? No extra discount or deals necessary. And so these are the incidental costs that you pay, not being unionized or organized and being at the mercy of a company whose objective is to make the most money that it can, right? So don't be concerned with, you know, the cost of dues when you have all these other situations that you're losing money right now. That if you had a contract that addressed them, you would make that money for dues and some.
Hey, if I get a chance,
before you say something, when Stephanie kept saying boots, I wish we would have had time to put little boots on the ground.
Hey, that's what's up.
Go ahead, Flex.
I just want to clear something up just so, like, because, a lot of times people, they're going to nitpick at the things we say. I just want to clear just a few things up real quick. Number one, what Amanda was saying when they said 6 minutes, our 6 minutes included that 5 minute wash up time that we had. So you really was only 1 minute over your shift. If you stayed over your shift because you missed your 6 minute wash up time to be able to get yourself ready to go home. And so that's where the 6 minutes comes in. So, but contractually, it really was, if you started early before your shift, they paid you for a short hour was the whole hour from either before or after. And it really only took 1 minute to actually kick that in. You know what I'm saying? So I just wanted to clear that up. And then I was going to clear up where Stedman was talking about the 0.5 or us getting, because our day shift back then did not receive paid lunch. Only shift that didn't receive paid lunch was day shift. They were the only people who had the extra half hour. They were the only people who didn't have, and day shift started at 6. It went from 6 to 11. If your start time was from 6 to 11 a.m., you did not receive a paid lunch. But any other start time, you received a paid lunch. So we were working 7.5 hours with the 8-hour lunch. But like I told you, regardless of what shift on, you got paid for lunch almost every day. And this includes when I worked in the smallest station like Buffalo or the biggest station like Minneapolis and Atlanta. We got paid for lunch because there's never going to be like between your third, like right now I've seen with our RTSM or what is it, Inform now, I've seen them try to put people on lunch. Like I said, I started 6:45 and at 8 o'clock they're telling me, well, I'm not going to lunch at 8 o'clock. You're not going to run me outside at 8 o'clock and then all of a sudden tell me that because we had 36 minutes from 8:15 to to 8:40 or whatever, 8:30 something. I'm not doing that. 8:40, you know what I'm saying? I'm not working the rest of the day in this heat. Like I'm not. You're gonna give me a decent lunch in the middle of my shift. Like here, my problem was they would send you to lunch before they would give you a 15-minute break. So you work all the way to lunch and you haven't even had a 15-minute break. Like there are so many rules and stuff that are broken because of we don't have a contract that we can lean on to go and say, hey, this is what the book says. That's really what I call it accountability, but maybe the micromanaging that people were discussing earlier, I want that because I'm okay with following the rules as long as it's an established set of rules. And maybe some people aren't. Maybe they like the fluidity of how it works now to where, and maybe they're in a good area, and I've been in great areas and I've been in terrible areas, but I've got lunch in every area. That's one thing if you don't pay me for that, I'm not working. So, but I just wanted to, I appreciate it. I just wanted to kind of clear those things up and just make sure that nobody can come back and tell us that we explained something wrong. So. You got it, man. Amanda, whatever you got next. No problem. No problem. Thank you.
Thanks for that. So, was you about to say something, Stedman?
Nope, that was it for me, and I thank you too for expanding on what what I was unaware of, because as I've said before, when we merged, I had 3 years, so there was a lot of stuff I didn't know, I didn't get to experience. So I appreciate you too for being a resource for me. As we are being a resource to the whole operation.
Yes. So Shaconda, you also had a question, and I think this is really important. Was a very, very good question. So on the floor, you were asked if Delta would, in other words, will Delta unmatch our results of the 401k as a result of voting for the union? Is it possible that Delta would take that away from us? Am I echoing, Stedman? So I wanted to answer that, but I also want Flex, because Flex is really, really resourceful when it comes to this. We don't have a contract. Let's go back to that again. We don't have a contract that say Delta has to match anything. Do I believe Delta would do that? I don't know. I don't think that they would take the risk of doing that, but Delta, we are at will employees. Delta can do whatever they want to do with us, whenever they want to do it. But I would also like for Flex and Stedman to weigh in on this because they're really good at this. But That 401k match is because Delta choose to match us. But can they take that away from us? Delta can take whatever they want from us. We are at will. If I don't say anything clear, we are at will employees, and they can do whatever they want to do with our benefits. And even like the 4%, which I recently just found out a couple of days ago, everyone didn't get that 4%. Some people got 3.99. Some people got 3.61. And the way Delta made it sound to our public and to the people that are listening, we all got a 4% raise, but that was not factual. Some of us did not get the full 4%. So I'll let Flex or Stepman step in on that. But I just wanted to give you what Delta can and can do. They can do whatever they want to do with us. So I'll let Flex tap in on that and Stepman.
You want me to go or you want to go, Fry?
You can go first.
All right, so I'll tap into both of those situations. As Amanda said, number one, Delta can do whatever they want when they want to do currently with us, and the majority of our coworkers, because we are non-unionized, and there is no rules that they have to follow. I shouldn't say that like that because that's not really true. They have a lot of leeway with the rules they have to follow as far as our compensation package goes. My question to anybody who would ask, would they take that from us? Well, number one, as soon as you unionize, they can't take anything. Everything stays status quo until we negotiate a contract. So if you're worried about them saying, oh, since you guys unionized, we're only going to match 4% or 3% now, that wouldn't happen. Now, what they would probably, I don't like to speak like that. What they could do is maybe give non-unionized people more to show us that to do something against us. But that's good because anything they're going to do when we start negotiations, we could go in there and say, well, you're already giving them this, and you're already giving the pilots like 18%. So you're not going to leave us out of that party. You know what I'm saying? So that would be one thing I would tell people that you have to. This is really a trust the process situation. Like in sports, you hear trust the process all the time when they're building your favorite sports team up. Like, this is your favorite sports team. This is us. And we need you to kind of trust the process and understand that. But I don't think that they would just do that. I know they couldn't just take from us or stop matching something because we unionize. Now, that I do know, because once you file and your election is official and you guys win, they can't change anything that they're giving. Which also means, though, so just to be clear, that unless the raise was already announced, they're not going to give you a raise. They're not going to give you anything until we finish negotiations. Now, if we organize and all of a sudden, and we know which we know this ain't going to happen because they don't never announce like the raises that far off. But they might, because they have in the past with elections. If they're going to give you a 7% raise and they already announced it to try to sway the election, they still have to give you that because that was already something they planned to do. Excuse me. So I know I'm kind of all over the place, but I'm trying to reel it in because this is a big subject. I want to try to make sure that I address it correctly. But they're more than likely they're not. If you're going to say we're not going to match 401k, then the question is, what are you replacing it with? You know what I'm saying? They're going to give you some type of retirement compensation. They're that big of a company. So I wouldn't necessarily be too concerned about them doing that. I'm not saying it couldn't happen. You know what I'm saying? But if we organize, we know it couldn't happen because it's already contractual what they need to give us. So I think sometimes in us making excuses and having fear for what's going to happen, we forget that the fear is what's holding us from making it happen. If that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? So I think we need to focus more on what it is that we can achieve instead of always focusing on, like, every time we come on this pod, I feel like we always talk about what we have to lose. And the truth is, we don't have nothing left to lose. They've taken everything. Yeah. Like, it can get worse. It's getting worse. Thank you, Amanda. It's definitely getting worse. But to actually lose, the only thing, there's nothing that, like, we're bare bones now. So I just want to make sure people understand that. They're like, you hear it from me every day at work, but now hearing it from other people and from different positions, like you hear David Pink talk about it, or you hear the pilots talk about it. It's certain things that this is what it is. And this is what our job entails. Like Delta tells you you're worth the industry standard. What you have now is the standard. There's nothing special about what you, even your profit sharing. Their profit sharing has legitimately become the standard. Now people say, oh, we got 11% and they only got 2%. But the actual what's the word I'm looking for? Equation for profit for profit sharing, it's the same in different airlines. So that's not even special anymore. So I had something else I wanted to say, but of course I done got on a little tangent. I ended up here and forgot about what else I needed to say. But I just want to let you know that our bare minimum, our bare bones, there's nothing left to lose. And once you realize that, and you come to work on time. Now, if you're a person who comes to work late every day, which I have a lot of people I know who come to work late every day, I understand why you might be scared of a union, because you're gonna say, man, they might be a little tighter on me about getting here on time. If getting here on time and leaving on time, I'm choosing leaving on time. And when I say leaving on time, I'm not talking about for the day, because I could be compensated for leaving on time for the day. I'm talking about leaving this place, period. Like I want some type of retirement that I can depend on. And right now, currently, if you really look at it, most people, and I know it's far off for a lot of us, even myself who've been out here for a while, but bro, there's no retirement from this anymore. You're gonna work here until you die, or you're gonna work here to go work somewhere else. And those might be things you might want to consider when we start talking about what it is we can lose. You losing life on the back end to stay here now just to be able to barely make your bills, pay your bills.
That was deep. Certainly, that was deep.
Yeah, so maybe I should have went first because that's a lot to follow.
That was good.
But so I just Google, do companies get tax breaks for contributing to 401k? And Google AI spits out an answer for me. Yes, companies generally receive tax breaks for contributing to a 401k for their employees. And it gives me a link to a website that I can go to expand on that. But then it says, here are the primary ways companies benefit from a tax perspective. Deductible contributions. Employer contributions to a 401k plan are deductible on the employer's federal income tax return. This means the company can reduce its taxable income by the amount of contributions it makes to the plan for its employees. There are limits on the amount that can be deducted, generally up to 25% of the compensation paid to eligible employees. And then it goes and says automatic enrollment credit. Companies that add an automatic enrollment feature to their 401k plan can receive an additional $500 tax credit per year for the first 3 years. So we need to understand when we look at, the percentage, right? Why is it stuck at 4% or whatever that it matches? Why doesn't it match as much as I contribute? The answer is because the company is not doing this out of the kindness of their heart. They're doing it because they're incentivized for their own tax burden, right? So even in that instance where you wonder if you have a 401k, it could be very well taken away from us, as Flex and Amanda have said. It could very well be taken from us. Everything that we do could, in some capacity, be modified, if not completely removed, without our input or our say, because we have no contractual relationship. But they have a 401k at the percentage that it's at for us because it's a tax benefit for them. So it's unlikely to change because they want to receive those tax benefits, right? But it's not a benevolence. If it were benevolence, they would match us irrespective of the limits on their benefit up to whatever we contribute because they value the work we do. They appreciate our contribution to making Delta Airlines a 100-year company, a premier airline in the world, right? But they don't, because there's a limit to how much they value you. They value you up to 4% match. They value you enough to paint on the side of a plane, or on the side of every employee bus, or on the side of every cart that they've got the world's greatest employees inside, and thank you, and we'll put your name in. But when it comes to cold hard money, having a good benefits package, right? Having sick time. We didn't even talk about that when it comes to compensation from the union, right? We don't have sick time. You got PPT, and now you can go in the hole and, you accrue it at such a slow pace that you'll never get it again, essentially, how we used to have it. And so there are all these different factors, on top of looking at a 401k that show the tenuous situation we all work under. And we'd like a contract, as Flex said, for stability. If you don't like coming in on time and you're afraid of being held to a standard that requires you to be here on time, maybe this job is not for you, because we work in a time-sensitive industry. But we shouldn't burden the coworkers or the customers because you can't come to work on time. And we shouldn't hinder ourselves from a great opportunity because we're afraid of being held accountable. So, that we won't lose the 401k, but not because we're nice or not because they love us, but because it's a tax benefit.
Thank you, Stedman. That was good. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
So as we come to an end, there was something I wanted to mention in the beginning of the podcast. I felt it was important. On Memorial Day, I had quite a few people ask me, why didn't we film? Why didn't we do a podcast? But we made a collective agreement. And I just want to answer this for those workers who thought that we no-showed the podcast. We did not no-show the podcast. We thought it was important to honor our veterans on that day. So we had, if you go back to the YouTube, maybe we should have ran it the whole hour, but we did do a brief statement in honor of our veteran. And I thought that was important to let the workers know that we would not intentionally no-show the podcast, but it was important that we honor our veterans. So that was why we did not have a show on Memorial Day that Monday. So that was just a sidebar I didn't want to forget, so that the workers could know that we would never abandon you from having this form of information. All right? Okay. All right. So Shaconda, it's time that we hear from you. So I want to know from you, what are some questions or statements that you are hearing on the floor in Atlanta that you would like to talk about on the pod today?
I have a lot of my peers question, what's going on? What's next? When are we going to do this? When are we going to do that? And there's one, maybe like actually three particular peers of mine. And, when they ask me this question, I'm like, so when can you come to a meeting? Like, we need you. Like, this is us. This is us. In order for this union drive to continue, we need to come together, empower one another, so that, there will not be a question on next. The answer would be contract. The answer would be negotiations. I need my coworkers and my peers in Atlanta, especially because we here in the South and in Atlanta are ultimately not going to say what's holding the drive back, but we have a big part to do with making this thing come home. So, the question of what's next, you getting involved, you stepping up, you showing up. And then you'll know what's next to come. We win sooner than later.
That was great, Shaconda. That was really, really good. Flex, is there anything? Yeah. So Flex, you being in the AT, yeah, you're right about that. So Flex, you being in the ATL with Shaconda, was there anything you wanted to add to that? Because we do need people to understand that this is us. And I want to say that again. This is us. This is not nobody else. This is Delta workers itself coming together. And Delta workers putting in the work to make this work. This is not the IAM job. This is nobody else's job. It is Delta workers' job to come together and to get people involved. But in order to get people involved, you have to want to be involved. So I want to hear straight from the floor of the ATL, because a lot of times, even here in Minneapolis, people want to know, well, what's going on in the ATL? So we want to let them know today what's going on in the ATL.
Work is what's going on. A lot of hard work going on in the ATL, just informing people with not just like tools like this podcast, but tools like the websites and Instagram, and there's a lot of work to be done. People want to know why we haven't made it there yet. Actually, I talked to a gentleman today. Has forever been a car. Not today. I talked to him Friday. Forever been a car signer. And the one thing he said is, man, it's no way possible that I've signed all these cars and we ain't made it to an election yet. And I tried to explain to him that it's way more than just signing a card that needs to happen. You know, we need you to talk to your people. Like I've said this on here before. I've said this on every platform that I've ever spoke on. We need you. If the reason why we're not unionized is because of us. I hate when I hear people, and I don't use the word hate often because hate is very strong. And I'm gonna kind of pull it back on here too. I strongly dislike when people blame other reasons for us not being on unionized on anybody other than us, because it's all on us. Like people will have 1,000 reasons why we're not unionized. The IM didn't do this, or I don't like this person. People still talking about what happened with Eastern back in the 90s. Man, ain't none of them people even around no more. Like all we got is a bunch of excuses on why we don't want to get involved. And listen, I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't want to hear it, and I will listen to you. I don't want to hear it though. But if you say you want to be unionized, like you say you want to be unionized, then you actually get involved. Like I appreciate Shaconda sent me a message. Like it might have been this week or last week. I was low, you know, and she completely like picked me all the way back up. She don't, and I think I told her. I believe I did text you back and tell you like, yo, and I appreciate you, sister, because she was like, bro, we riding. And just to hear that at a low point when I'm like, yo, how are we gonna do this? Because it's such a massive task without people getting involved. You know what I'm saying? And then it hit me, I'm just to tell you, Shaconda, I never told you this, but I did share that, and I was like, yo, this is why we still going. Because that new energy is why you understand. It's like you finally feel heard from somebody. People that get it. Like people will sign cards when you're in your face, but they'll sign the card and say, "Oh man, it ain't gonna never happen." And it ain't gonna never happen if you ain't gonna never help. It don't happen. It's not gonna not happen because I don't believe, because I'm out here doing the work, or you all don't believe. It's gonna happen because the people who really don't believe, they'll sign a card with you in quiet, but they won't check somebody who says, who they won't check somebody who hasn't signed a card for not signing a card when they start talking bad about the union. They won't stand up. It ain't for us not standing up because we already standing up.
Yeah.
Those are the things that we really need to start making sure people understand. If you want a union, get involved in your city. That's the bottom line. If you want a union on whatever level, I'm not telling you got to come on the pod, even though I do invite you to the pod if you want to come on the pod and talk about why you want to be union. But you don't have to go stand and make speeches, but you do have to continue to talk to your coworkers and send them to the people that's collecting cars, or grab some cars and start and be a car collector. The reason why that we haven't made it to where we want to be just yet, and we just so close, is because it ain't enough of us talking about it. I see y'all on Facebook, so I know I see it on Facebook because people come up. Oh, I saw where you said something. Why you ain't say something? Like when the people talk about, oh, the union's just going to do this, that, there, and the third, or we're not going to be able to do this, that, there. Why? Don't come tell me you saw it. Tell me that show me you saw it and speak on it. Don't just like my comment. Create your own comment.
Yeah.
Like those are the things we need. Like that's where we are. If you want a union, it's okay to say I want a union. It's okay to say I love my job. It's okay to say all of that. But you got to say it. No more standing in the background in the shadows. You gotta stand up and say it if you want it. And if you don't want it, that's fine too. I respect the people who say I don't want a union. I don't trust unions. Unions can't do nothing for me. I respect them too. They're still my coworkers, and we can have
Yeah.
that dialogue about what's what. That's what's missing. Inside having, if you're not talking about, don't tell me you want the union every day or ask me what's going on every day. Where we at? How we doing? And you not doing nothing. That's where we at. And I tell people that when people ask me, yo, what's going on with the union going however you going. If you out here talking it up, then we doing good. If you just asking me what's going on, well, we need a little help. So what they say, I'll land my plane there.
Yes, that was good though. That was good. That was good. So I know that we're coming into a wrap up, but I don't usually go through the comments of the podcast because usually we've already done the podcast. We know what's coming out on the podcast. But last week on the podcast, it was a gentleman made a statement. Why don't y'all give up and move on? So I want to address that. Why don't y'all give up and move on? Why don't you get up and get on and come help us so that we can move on and get to an election? I think it's important to not, we don't speak to the negativity, but that kind of tweaks me because we need a union. We need to be represented. We need support. We need help. When we get in trouble, we have each other we can go to, but that is not a contract. That is just us talking to each other like we're talking to each other today. So I wanted to say to the person that wrote, why don't y'all give up and move on? There is no moving on until we move into an election and win this vote at Delta Airlines. So I wanted to address that myself because we're not going to give up because we get negative comments. We're not going to give up even though we don't see eye to eye on everything, but we will get to a vote, and we're not going to give up on each other, and we're not going to give up on the union drive. So I wanted to so thank you for that. No giving up. We're not doing it. Okay? We're not doing it. So, Shaconda, I want to wrap up with you. I know you guys are planning something big in the ATL, and I'm hoping I'll be able to make it to it because I want to sit with our brothers and sisters and do some solidarity and fellowship with each other. So, why don't you tell us about the kickball event that you guys are planning?
Oh, yes, we are so excited. We here in Atlanta have been talking and getting the ground moving on organizing a kickball event for not just Delta workers, but we're inviting American, Southwest, United, Alaska, Spirit, Frontier. You all come on. We're planning a big kickball community event just to bring everyone together, you know, in solidarity. Just get to speaking about work, get to speaking about the support that we have for one another, get to speaking about our experiences while also, you know, being active and having a little fun game of kickball, a little competition. Families are invited. Bring your kids. It is a summer event. You know, the kids are out from school, so you know, when the hours, everything is tentative for July 11th. Right now, depending on how the weather goes, we're working on securing the permit this week. So Flex, myself, and a few others here on the inside. And, you know, this is just something that we want to do to bring together our community because, like we said, to be unionized is to unite. And although we here at Delta are in this fight while our brothers and the sisters on the outside have won their fight, it's about coming together and it's solidarity. And yeah, it's going to be a fun event. And we're hoping to be able to do this once a year, twice a year, maybe. You know, a lot of our inside peers, they always ask, what's next? What's next? Let's see who's going to come out to this event. And let's talk about what's next after that.
All right. All right. Give it up for us, family. Give it up.
July 11th.
So just in case you didn't hear that at the end, she said attentively July 11th, depending on the weather and getting the permit. So I hope everyone can show up and show out, and let's go and support our ATL brothers and sisters. And let's put our, as Stephen said, let's put our boots on the ground, all right? So as we come to the end, was there anything else, Flex or Stephen, that you would like to add, Shaconda? Anything else you would like to add? Go ahead, Flex.
Hey, if I can, having my sister on here is Shaconda. Is like I don't know. It's kind of I feel like I just feel good because of how she got started and everything, man. But the one question I would want to ask is to ask you, and if you could be as honest as possible, and I know you will. How has your experience been being like somebody who stands out and says you want a union? If you could just answer that, whatever it is, positive, negative, whatever you want to talk about, just if you want to just talk about your experience as a new organizer and being a part of this campaign and how you feel about it and how you've become so connected to not only the movement but like those of us in the movement. Because like I said, recently you sent me a text that completely lifted me off the floor. You know what I'm saying? And reminded me why and I needed it. You don't know that, but I needed that. And I just want to know how you like what this experience has been for you.
Well, in the beginning, I saw some guys doing visibility. And when I came into Delta and found out that we weren't unionized, it shocked me. And I'm like, wait a minute. And then I hear that there's a drive going on. I was looking for you all. I was looking. I didn't know where to find you. And I had come upon Hines at one of our visibility locations. And I'm like, a lot of times I stay, for the most part, I stay ready. It must be in my blood, and I don't know. It scares me sometimes, but I am a fearless, driven woman. So I just kind of try to move with what God calls me to do and follow that path without any fear, So like when I first came into it, I'm like, I really don't. I still right now, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't know what I'm gonna say, but but I just, like I said, I just move according to plan. I'm not as hesitant as I was before. I'm ready for the negative. I'm ready for the positive responses because all in all, most of them have been positive. Even with the negative, I turn it into a positive. It's not an argument. There's no need for hostility. And I'm one of those girls like, what? And I'm like, nah, you good. We all good. It's not just about me. It's the force right here. So I understand the mission. And yeah, all in all, we're going to keep it positive and on the up and up. And I'm so honored to be here sitting with you all and Flex. Thank you for letting me know that, like, that's a part of my job here in joining you all, for real.
Wow.
Thank you. Thank you.
So
let her get a long round of applause.
Yes. We thank you for coming on. We thank you for getting involved in the drive. I thank you as a sister to a sister. It's the most beautiful thing to see my sisters be on this podcast. And I hope we get to see more of you, Kelly, and the rest of the girls that Flex has done a great job of pulling you guys together. And it's the most beautiful thing. So you are welcome on this podcast any day, anytime, anywhere. And whenever you want to come on, you just tell us, and you are welcome to be on this podcast with us at any time. And that's to all Delta workers, not just the Shacondas. We look forward to having all Delta workers who are willing to come forward to come and be on the podcast. Be a part of the podcast. Let us know what's going on in your station. Let us know what the questions are on the floor that we need to be answering. So we would just like to send on this ending of this one, we want to send a system-wide invite. Please come and be a part of the podcast and help us get to the land that we're trying to get to. It's the promised land of winning this union. So if that's it, I would like for everyone that is listening to please comment, like, share, subscribe, hit that notification for all so you can hear every time we upload. We thank you for coming. And please don't forget to thumbs up this video and let YouTube know you like our content. We thank you and we'll see you on the next one. Thumbs it up. All right, deuces. Solidarity, brothers.
Yes.
So, I think we did a pretty good job of answering some of the questions that came up in the comments section as the video went on in the interview. I think that was a pretty informative interview. We answered questions. I think we did a pretty good job. And as Amanda said, if anyone else in the system has questions, comments, what are you seeing on the ground? Please feel free to contact us, either leaving a comment or an email. But I'll do the closing. I like to do that just for consistency. But thanks for tuning in with us. If you have questions that were not answered, or maybe a specific topic you'd like to have addressed, leave a comment or an email and we will get back to you. Also, all available links to information and materials are posted in the description. So I didn't actually link to the Google AI 401k questions, but I figured that if anybody had a desire to see for themselves, they could just type it on. I'm sure most of us have access to Google. Just type in, do companies receive a tax benefit for contributing to a 401k? And the AI should spit out a similar response. But remember, this podcast is powered by working people just like you. In solidarity, peace.